I do apologize. Basically, I was, trying to talk, and all of a sudden it went quiet, and I thought everyone was ignoring me. And then I realized my internet had gone. And the second I tried to rejoin, I rebooted my internet a few times, and eventually it come back on. Trying to rejoin, and the second I rejoined, it shut the show down for some reason. So that's a bit of a mess up there. A technical issue, which I'm sure as BP players were very used to. But anyway, we're back now, and apologies for the change. But
you bastard.
Where were you guys anyway? I'm sure you were talking about how lovely Liam is, how much of an inspiration he is in your life, and where were you when you met Liam and stuff like that. I'm sure you're all talking about
Right. Yeah. I was watching how subs sync on the History Channel, and Liam was a guest person on the show, and anyway, no, we actually had gone through everybody. Daniel, we were waiting on Daniel to tell us how he was doing with the icebreakers, because he's using icebreakers in the hundreds.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's awesome. It's fun. It really is. I'm taking like an hour and a half damage. That's like 4 coins per set, and it's fun to drive in there.
Okay. Yeah, I would imagine that I know TSM has been he's away, but he's getting his raid done, and icebreakers are being used, and I think he's using the Goose Monkey Kuru, and he's getting them to like 1 coin a hit. Now, I imagine it would be a lot more fun to just be a reckless, carefree driver and blitz the targets with icebreakers than it would be to try and drive the ridiculousness that is the monoliths. So, I imagine it's actually quite a pleasurable raid if you're using icebreakers. Okay. And your build, are you running 2M and 2X charge armors, or are you not quite there on that amount of armors?
I have full charged armors off 2X and 2Ms.
He's got the full build on it. See, and it was in the previous server they were fun as hell to drive, and then the first trade happened, and the fun was gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like for me, it's kind of frustrating, the whole charge armor stuff. I don't mean to go on about old bones, but they went from being like a luxury item that was optional to, if you don't have them, this is going to cost a lot item, And for me, in the first time they were released, I just picked 4 of each. And the second time I picked none, So I wouldn't have enough to set up a fleet fully with charge armors, and now they're kind of a must-have, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, that changing the whole mechanic of that, and then adding all the build time, and then the mechanic of the gridiron. I mean, it just. I think this was. It was mishandled, and the fact that it's not, the specialist hull should be top of the line for everything. Driving it should be easier than the other ones. You should be able to take less damage. It should perform as good, if not better, than the other ones. Probably better if it's the top line hull. And what we're seeing is the Empyrean's the top line hull. It does the targets better. They drive better. The Zealous tank performs better than the Grid tank. I mean, I'm struggling with how this has come about, and I'm not sure what they can do. I mean, the only thing I can come up with is they got to buff the Grid. That would at least bring it on par. If they buff the Grid and get rid of the Apollo speed boost and just give it just a generic speed increase, it would at least bring it on par with the Empyrean build, which is the generalist build. It's supposed to be in 3rd place, not 1st. So, yeah, I'm very confused by this raid, and I know a lot of people are concentrating on the raid itself and what they have to do and what they have to get and everything, but I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm looking at these targets, I'm looking at the size of the targets and the intricacies within each target and the mechanics, and I'm like, this is going to be our FM. These targets are our FM going forward, or something similar to them at least. But generally, they're probably just going to convert these into map targets, And I don't know about you guys, but I've gotten very used to being able to do my FM in like 20, 30 minutes.
I do it in less than that. I'm very lazy and I blitz.
Yeah, but you blitz everything, man. We're talking about the people that actually go out and do it. You know,
well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, the time is a big issue with respects to how long it's taking, and we were talking about this pre-show, not just this target, but if they follow the pattern that they have, we're going to have a second S target in the next raid, and it's just the time amount is just really creeping up there, and I don't want to spend 4 or 5 hours a day over the 5 days doing this raid to get the points, and I certainly don't want to spend 4 or 5 hours a week having to do this for the FM.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. Although speaking of which, with the changes in the charged armor, honestly, what do you guys think the charged armor should be? Because I'm looking at it and I'm going, all right, it should probably, if they're going to keep it as a limited thing, I'm thinking like $2.5 million a pop, because it's become a necessity.
Well, if they're keeping the 10 million price tag on it and they refuse to drop that, they absolutely need to drop the build time, because you're paying a premium up front for the amount of it in the raid, and now you're paying a premium for build time, and so you're essentially getting double tax. So if they're going to leave it that high, they need to drop that build time.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that the price for the armor is ridiculous, because it's basically a must-have now, even just to do this raid cycle, and to expect people to pay more to collect all the armors than to actually collect the prize itself, which is meant to be the whole, is ridiculous.
And
the stun armor was $1 million the last raid cycle, and it was completely unused, and most of us thought it might be of use, but then there was no stun in the targets ever, and they didn't make use for it. And the thing here is we have something comparable that we can use in the form of our current armors, so it's not even like it's that special. I mean, it's better than what we have, but it's not like there's no substitutes. So this should be 1 million.
Well, no,
especially
now it's very, it's much more powerful than the regular armor. But the problem is everything's tuned around it.
Do you know what? I'd like to see a stack of those armors. I don't know. I mean, I think that the cost is way out there, and I think the availability needs to be changed, because they are a must-have. They're not a luxury item anymore. So they need to change that. I don't know if they can put them into Forsaken missions, and I don't know if that would be a bad thing, but
no, we can't put that in the FM.
Even if there was like one TLC a month where you could get 2 of each, just something, some other way to get them, because I think
TLC would be okay, but wasn't there there was a big issue when they first brought the limited stuff out, in the way that the mechanic was done to where they said they never could put it in the FM, or they never could put it as a regular prize. It would always have to be a limited.
I wouldn't mind finding these in those random chests that keeps dropping in the FM, or
that's not going to happen either. We'll see build tokens before we see these in the chests.
Well, another thing as well, George, I just thought I'd pick up on. You were talking there about the Forsaken missions. Remember, last year we had the raid cycle that lasted 4 months, and the top prize was a Citadel, and the Citadel and the targets became Forsaken missions afterwards. But they did, in all fairness to Kicks, they did actually test different targets every month for about 4 months before they finalized the Forsaken mission target. And I imagine, although the targets we're hitting in the raid are going to be the Forsaken mission targets, I imagine we won't see any targets like what we're hitting now. It will probably be a sort of molded version of it. Like, they'll probably test it we'll be testing it for them for the first few months of the
right. But the other side of that is this, Liam, is that when those targets came out, and everyone complained they were really hard at first, right? But our tech had was open-ended. So as time went on, those targets became easier for us as players. Whereas now, the way that the game is designed and the way that they're doing these little blocks of stuff, whatever they start with is probably going to stay like that. It's going to remain static for a year. So we don't have that room for growth like we used to in the past. You know what I mean? So I'm just afraid that they're gonna overtune to the point where we're gonna be spending way too much time doing the main shore in the game. And you know, I think we've all figured out that players don't really like doing shores that take up too much time. We'd rather be doing other stuff, hitting people. I mean, battle pirates.
Nuggets.
Not like literally hitting people, although sometimes it does feel like that. Okay, so has everyone had an opportunity to discuss how they found their raid, or has anyone not mentioned it?
No, I think I covered everybody. We
Okay.
lost a couple people somewhere.
Somewhere along the line, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do have a point. Sorry, on the resetting of the targets that obviously is still an issue, and I'm not sure where we dropped off or whether we went into this in depth. If you hit a target and you do a little bit of damage and you leave and come back in and that target has reset, don't keep banging your head against the wall. It's going to keep resetting. Consider that the voodoo target and just get out, go find another one and leave that one on the map. If you do go in and hit a target, hit a whatever you hit, but if you hit something and then you retreat and then go back in and that whatever you hit is still dead, then as long as you don't hit it like 50 times, you should be able to go ahead and either prep that or finish that without worrying about it resetting if you have to pop out and repair. So if you hit it and it resets, don't keep doing the same thing. Just leave that target.
And if you have a voodoo target on the map, post it in your comms, because there are some people that, will come and hit the whole thing because they'll just one-shot it.
Yeah, it still works for the one-shot.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So is there any other topics that anyone would like to discuss?
I'm kind of curious why the Zealous is outperforming the Grid. I mean, I know why mechanic-wise, but I'm just looking at that Zealous, and it's like, it's in the FM now. It was, what, 1.5 million last raid, and my Gridiron was 40 million?
Something like that.
I'm just...
I'm a little bit worried about the whole build times. From the Siege raid and the Garrison raid, we've seen drastic increase of build time of the good hulls. So I mean, the Cannoneer and the Ironclads were like 11, 12 days. We're talking about like 15, 18 days now for Icebreakers and Empyreans.
I actually just posted a link for the build that I used and that I'm using now in the hundreds, and I'm actually curious how many. I didn't even look how many days it was.
And the thing,
find that link.
I mean, they've obviously failed to correct for the fact that we now have 3-month build cycles instead of 4. Like, that's basic math, and they either can't do it or are willfully ignoring, actual data, which is risky. What I kind of want to piggyback on the side tangent is the psychology of people as these holes are being built and as we're getting data in from the raid itself, or as changes come in at varying times of, last minute panic. Like, a lot of us, I'm sure, built the Icebreakers the first month because, that's the best that we could do, or supposedly. And we spent a month building Icebreakers and they turned out to be garbage. And so we stopped building them and didn't want to build them anymore. And I'm sure a lot of people stopped building their Icebreakers at 3 or 4, however many, and might not have even picked up the flagship, because also by that point we'd have gotten the monos, or the Gridiron monos. And in the second raid of the cycle now, the Icebreakers are doing fantastic in the S sets, which no one could have predicted because they were bad in the easy A set targets, but they got buffed so soon before the raid. So if you somehow could see the future, you might see that Icebreakers do well, but that's not the case. The monos got changed a bunch, but, we weren't really to know that. And, the Gridiron and all that, see also Tuesday's show. Like, I don't think that Kix understands what information the players do and don't have and how long these things take to build. It takes about, a month to build 2 monos. We have to commit a very large amount of time, real time, to building these fleets. And changing things so soon, so quickly, not only does it invalidate builds, but it feels like it invalidates the investment that a lot of players put in to building them, and there's no way we can get around them. It's not a strategy game really anymore. It's not a game where you're using your brain. It's a guessing game when they do things like this, so abruptly and change so much. Add 10 days to a fleet build, then you won't have the thing ready for the raid, and then
Right. Well,
they're not so much better than the former stuff.
yeah, the build that I have right now, right, is 107 days, 17 hours
After
build.
charged armor?
with the charged armor, everything that I'm using currently, that I refit to now. But the catch is I had to refit to that, right? I've already spent a month building this fleet. I've already blown all the tokens that I've had. That's an issue. 107-day build time, 117, almost 108-day build time on a 3-month cycle. I mean, let's put that in perspective. 3 months is 90 days. This is 17 more days, 18 more days than the actual raid cycle itself. Not counting tokens and stuff, but
this assumes perfect knowledge too. You had to know that this was going to be good, and given how much they've screwed up the charged armors and the icebreakers and the monolith, basically everything in this raid cycle, we can't know that anything's going to work right or well or anything. Like there's absolutely no confidence in these holes, and and everything's going to work the same. We can't know that. We can't work with anything near perfect information, and all the imperfect information just sets us back by a time that we don't have.
yeah, the ability to adapt and I mean the ability to adapt period has been just hurt a lot. I mean a lot. I spent a month building a fleet that got mitigated 2 days before the raid. How do you adapt to that? I mean, you can't just go, oh, by the way, here's the change, and you start raiding 2 days. Sorry, not sorry.
Look, that's
I mean, they're working. Don't get me wrong. There is a chance to adapt, right? And I did. I adapted it. It's working now. I got it under. I got it to a coin for an S set. But the problem is how many points did I have to spend to get tokens to adjust something that wouldn't have had to get adjusted had they left the aura the way it was. I mean, that's kind of the sour point with a lot of players, is that, okay, look, we built all this stuff and then y'all changed it, and now we have to pay to change it to compensate for the change that you guys made to what we had already built. And it's just one of the catch-22 things
without
that's
communication.
not. Yeah, it's not good for anybody.
And you're not getting the benefit of the grid buffs either.
Yeah, that's part of it. But I mean, the thing is, it's just that the situation isn't good for anybody. I mean, it's not good for Kicks because players get all pissy and stuff. It's not good for the players because then Kicks has to tune for stuff that we're demanding. I mean,
well, it's not just
bad
the
overall.
Yeah, it's not just the change that they made because of with the ring itself. It was that compounded with the charged armor change. So, people all of a sudden saw the woohoo, let's stack this, and okay, all right, I'm gonna need some armor on my ships. And so they got hit with an extra day and almost a half for the charged armor, and then on top of that, so it was almost like a wham bam double whammy. You got the hit with the armor on Tuesday, and then this change that happened. So it was a double refit. It wasn't just one.
Yep.
Yeah. I personally had and with my icebreakers, I originally had them with full X armors and M armors, but then during the preview server I saw that everyone said that the X armors weren't working, so I spent 21 coins to take off all the X armors and put them and put on D1Xs, and then after that they were saying no, the X armors were working. So I was planning to put it on. I bought the 7-day tokens for icebreakers, and that's when they changed the build time of the charged armors, so the tokens didn't exactly do the whole entire refit. So I had to spend some time and some Forsaken Mission tokens on top of whatever I bought. When it used to be just like 6 days refit.
Okay. Well, I see my experience in the raid is not good.
You blitzed everything. What kind of experience did you have?
I didn't have a chance to speak. Well, yeah, but I didn't initially blitz everything. I actually did try some targets out, okay? And yeah, I mean, I tried the fleet I used last raid, which was a Punisher and a Harlock Citadel and 3 Citadels. That wasn't fantastic, to say the least. And then I tried my monoliths. I have 4 monoliths and a grid monolith. Now, my monoliths were kind of built. They were built before the cycle even started, or whenever they came out in the campaign. I built 3 of them. And they had turn speed armor on, because at the time they didn't even have the variable speed or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was, but there was an issue. We were worried about turn speed, me and Mark. So we worked out a build, and I had T armors on them because the grid monolith wasn't even out then. Yeah, and I didn't change them, unfortunately. So that did not work well. 3 turn speed armors per monolith was not great, because obviously with the change and me wanting to drive them kind of slightly off stacked, basically stacked with the grid mon slightly tipping in front, it just didn't work. The grid monolith was surviving because he was full of charge armors, but the 4 monoliths behind were just getting absolutely obliterated. So yeah, so it wasn't the most fantastic raid. I did manage to do, like, I tested out the A sets, I tested out 100, I tested out the 84s, and at the end of it, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna blitz it. So that's what I did. I blitzed it. I think I did an 84 for 26 minutes, which I thought was terrible, considering it's meant to be the skill hole and the top tier hole. And I just blitzed it. I did 50 million, and then just that was it. I'm not interested. I've only taken 1 charge armor, and that's it.
It's kind of a sad sign when when you're pushing seat time as a metric so hard with these larger targets, and yet people are still paying to not play your game. Admittedly, that could be part of the underlying philosophy, that you save so much physical time by coining that it's worth it to some people, but that doesn't seem right.
Well, there's no way that I'm gonna, like, I mean, I'll be working all weekend, and there's no way I'm going to sit down for hours to grind away to get the armors, to then spend a fair amount of money in the middle of the raid to refit my fleet to then be able to do the raid. That concept is just ridiculous. The most ridiculous thing ever. So
yeah, you have a soul. I don't have that problem, so for me it's okay. But you know,
well, I mean,
way by the game.
They changed the hull twice prior to the raid. The fleet layout that I was planning to use no longer works. So there's no way I'm going to go into the raid, work my butt off to win enough points to collect armors to then be able to refit my fleet to then be able to do the raid. That's just the most stupidest thing ever. I mean, I don't know any game developer that would even think that that's a good concept for any player to play and enjoy doing that.
Well, I guess I'm doing their math for them, so you know.
Yeah. Yeah. This raid is more of a flop for me than last raid. I played last raid for 5 minutes. I played this raid for about 15. So I guess is 10 minutes more enjoyable. Which
3 times as much.
I guess it's something. Yeah.
That's how you spin it.
Yeah, that's a seller right there. That is the selling point.
We need it, boy.
So yeah, for me.
Right, hold on. So did you try 100 yet?
Yes and no. Like, I didn't actually try all of it.
He didn't ask if you finished it. He asked if you tried.
I kind of looked at it, started off, seen the damage I was taking, and got the fuck out of there. You know, so and that was that was about as far as it went. I mean, until I put 80 million points worth of armor on the other 4 monoliths. In fact, no, it's actually 120 million worth of armors on the monoliths, which I won't even be able to win in this cycle anyway. Then they're going to be redundant anyway. So do I want to? And so then I'm faced with the point of, do I actually want to wait this cycle and next cycle to win enough armors to be able to equip the fleet properly? Then the cycle's over, or should I just bite the bullet and build the icebreaker, which was a flop but now isn't a flop? Or do I build the generalist holes, which do seem to be working, and just? I mean, it's the same.
Generalists.
You bring up a really good point with the cost of the armors the way that they are, and given just a 3-month raid cycle. I mean, that's a huge investment for players in any of the raids, because if you can't do one of the raids, or if you just can't get those points in 1 or 2 of the raids, I mean, that's a huge investment in terms of points, time, and then shipbuilding or refit time.
Well, here's the crunch here. The only way for me to actually get my monoliths properly operational, which is 2 M charged armors and 1 X charged armor per ship, I would need to wait for next cycle as well, and then build them after that, which means they won't even be ready until after this raid cycle's over.
Yeah, see, that's just ridiculous. Although,
the other point to that too is, we were lucky in that they put tokens for the Zealous in, so people that were doing minor refits in their Zealous, they could use those tokens for it. People that were doing changes to their regular citadels or even some of their Tide Seekers. The problem is that the tokens that are in the raid, the generic ship tokens that are in the raid, are supposed to be a bonus. We're supposed to be able to put those towards our new hull so that we can get 3 or 4 of them out before the VXP weekend, and people are having to use those bonus tokens to refit just to do the raid, and to me that's a problem.
Yeah, well, I've blown a ton of tokens just refitting to get this thing sound.
Yeah, and it's wrong that it's wrong that we're doing that. I feel like I've been cheated because I don't have my bonus tokens to go ahead and build my ships, and Kix is going to lose money because I've burnt those tokens, and now I'm just going to slow build these things for VXP.
Well, the FM tokens were supposed to be a bonus too, but that also went the way of the dodo.
The concept of tokens in general was always meant to be a way for us to catch up because build times were so long.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be a stepping stone for all the players to be able to start participating in PvP, because PvP was the fun part, and now it's I've used up every single token from the beginning of this cycle, or the month prior to the beginning of the cycle to now, just to build the 2 fleets that aren't even complete. The
only PvP holes I have built have been because of the tokens that have been given with the PvP. The tokens for the oppressors and that kind of stuff. Everything else has been used just on getting raid fleets done.
Well,
yeah, we don't get days of sloth tokens.
Hey, we have a request. Hold on, I want to pass this on first because he can actually do this while we're talking. Liam, we have a request for you to hit 100 while we're live on the air while we're continuing the show. So why don't you present and show us your mad driving skills in 100,
well,
man?
I think the problem is, I think the way my internet is that.
Oh, come on!
I think it would die. It would die if I tried to load BP and then screen share. I can't even really have Facebook open while I'm in a hangout. That's how it always is. So, but if you'd like, for comedy purposes, I will make a video of me hitting a 100. How about that? And then post that. There you go.
All right. I tried, guys. I think that's the best we're gonna get right there.
No, I'll do that. But you're not going to see a great deal. You're going to see a grid monolith, right, up front, and then 4 monoliths behind dying. That's all you're going to see. But I'm willing to share the experience.
Okay, perfect.
And
speaking of videos, go ahead, Jeff.
The question I had too is, with being concerned about the FM going forward, is with the charged armors that were these luxury items that were so expensive, and now we're finding out that they're not so luxury anymore and they're still expensive. What about all these people going into the FM after this is over that don't have them?
Well, I think it's a very, very bad concept from a design perspective, and for a player perspective, to be able to do the raid productively and at a cost-effective way, you need the charged armors. But the fleets aren't good enough to do the raid without the charged armors, and you need to be able to do the raid to win the charged armors. So if you do you know what I'm getting at? Like you can't.
It's a catch-22, yeah.
Yeah, your fleet isn't good enough to win the armors without the armors, basically.
And I for one am used to doing the highest level targets and getting to tier 5 no problem. And am I going to be able to do that come the new FM or not?
And the thing is too, like the damage for this in some cases wasn't even tuned to the new charged armors. It was tuned to the old. Don't have any math for you, but I was hitting the 83s right after the raid started in Epsilon, and my grid mono was getting chunked down to half from about 3 missile hits from the missiles on the Zoes. And again, 40,000 blueprint damage. Well, we have 40,000 missile deflection on the old charged armors. Like, I don't think they did any sort of proofreading at all. And the Zoe's Apollo, the shrouded thing, we still don't know how that works and becomes unshrouded. So that's a source of RNG that it's random.
We know why it unshrouds. But we don't know why.
Yeah, we don't know how to get that triggering event though. Like,
we don't know why that other Apollo comes in.
Yeah,
I think it is. But like, so randomly, in the 80s, there's a Zoe's Apollo that's shrouded. It's different location in each of the targets, and sometimes there will be a Zoe's Apollo in something that you hit in one of the fleets. And when that happens, the Zoe's Apollo is going to become unshrouded, run towards your back line, hit the crap out of it, and then die. The thing is, that will... I have MX3 and one of...
Just a moment. It's not true that the Zoe's Apollo targets your backline. The Zoe's Apollo is trying to escape. If your backline happens to be along its escape path, it will shoot at them.
Okay, thank you.
In addition, I think I know why it's actually unshrouding. There's that last 2 rhinos that are coming after you. If you kill those with your ships, then it unshrouds the Apollo.
Daniel actually... No, Daniel...
I know what happened every time, though.
Yeah, look, Daniel pointed it out last night, and I went through some of the videos, and what it is sometimes the rhinos are replaced with an Apollo. One of the rhinos that come into the target are replaced with an Apollo. When that Apollo dies, it unshrouds whatever's in the target. It unshrouds the Apollo in the target. That's what it is. We just don't know what triggers the event to replace that rhino.
So it's random, and that thing will run at you, and its missiles, 90% pen defense on my back line, even because I run MX3 in a charged armor, and 500 chip deflection, and I'm still at almost dead after. Yeah, it's like 33% damage to the ship with every missile, like 2,000 damage to something with these high resistances. That's just garbage. I'm trying not to swear again. That is unacceptable in any form. Just randomly you take an hour more damage from a missile whose damage value we clearly didn't proofread or assumed we still had the old charged armor. Like, that's rude. And between that and all this other stuff, I had someone ask me why I play this game, and I think I joked with an I don't know at that time, but I play for the challenge and the strategy to try to do well without money. And while I'm not, going to do everything great, I want to at least try to do one thing great. And this doesn't seem like a fair test against an opponent. This seems like Kixeye is blatantly cheating and is making up the rules as they go. And in a literal sense, they are, but it doesn't feel like a fair game anymore. It feels like, roulette with the wheel with 5 zeros, or Keno, or, basically anything else. And they also don't know what they're doing as well. So it just feels terrible. It feels unfair.
There you have it. That is the final word from one of the biggest drug barons in America. Robin, sorry, I know you had something you wanted to
Yes, she
No,
does.
that's okay. I just wanted to share with everybody, if you haven't paid attention to the Facebook page, there is a pinned post at the top of the page that contains all of the videos of the targets, including the pathing. Most of them have builds. If you have a video, you're more than welcome to add them. Andrew is also adding them to the website on the Raid Crack page as he gets them in, and I'm sure we will find a special place for Liam's 100 video. But if you're not sure of the targets, or if you're still struggling, or you're hearing stories, jump on the page, take a look. They're all up there in that top pin post, so easy place for everybody to find them.
Okay. Yeah, there is a lot of helpful vids. I think most of the admin panel have done a vid, so there is a lot of helpful information out there. Okay, guys. Well, listen, it's been a great show. I do apologize for the interruption in the broadcast. I know we had to change, and thanks everyone that came along. And we've got 100 viewers on the show, so well done everyone for coming over. Hopefully everyone will have a more pleasant raid experience than maybe I've had. I don't know how the next cycle is the next raid is going to be. I mean, maybe we'll see some more changes. I don't know. I would expect so, but I mean, the advice right now is, I don't know what the advice is. What would be your fleet advice? Build the generalist. Stick with icebreakers. I mean,
I have no idea at this point. I mean, I want.
It's okay. Neither do Kickstarter.
I want the specialist hull. I want the specialist hull to be the #1 hull. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not. I mean, it's not even second unless you build it properly, and that's depressing. And especially going into the FM. I mean, I really want this sorted. I understand they're going to be looking at this, and they're going to be looking at changing the way things are done for the next raid set. But I'm kind of concerned about this raid set and actually correcting this stuff going forward, because this is going to be the FM. And actually, Liam, can I just ask one quick question before we close, because this is actually a little bit pertinent, I think, to the discussion. The people on the panel, if Kixeye decided to go, hey, you know what, we are going to change stuff again, because it's like the third or fourth time we're changing stuff, but we're going to change it again to buff the gridiron, or we're going to change the mono to make it easier to drive or something. If they change something that actually made the fleet better and actually brought it up to the 4, would you guys have an issue with that?
No,
because it would probably change it to the way that we all got used to driving it in the time before it was changed.
Well, I just want it to be right. I do not want to be here 2 raids into a 3 raid cycle, still not knowing what to build, what to do. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. To be here now, sat here, still not sure what the right build is, still thinking that we need to change stuff. This stuff should have been done before the raid even started, before the cycle even started. And if this is if this is how stuff's going to go on, then God, I mean, this is the worst raid cycle we've ever experienced. Everything's been wrong. Nothing. It doesn't seem like anything's being tested.
I don't know. Now, okay. Well, look, I will say this: the targets themselves, because the difference in builds that you can actually use to engage the targets, I think is generally in the right direction. I think the problem isn't with the raid cycle. I think it's the way that the technology for it has been brought out. I mean, a lot of the stuff, we're in the middle of the second raid, and the uncertainty by the player community is an issue. Like, that should not be happening. But it's not because of the raid targets. The raid targets are actually pretty good. I mean, I kind of have a couple issues here and there. The raid targets themselves are pretty good. It's the rest of it. Like, we should have the grid mono fleet should be easily the top choice. It shouldn't be second or third. It shouldn't be, if I'm like, oh, dude, I just got 200 million points, I'm going to get and be able to easily go, this is exactly what I want to get first, because that is a clear delineation of the tier system of what's what in the raid. We don't have that. There is no clear delineation of anything. I mean, there's Tide Seekers and Citadels doing hundreds when people can't do it with Gridiron and Monoliths. And some people can go, well, it's the build, blah, blah, blah. But look, the grid mono is the top tier. It should be the top tier, and that's what's got to get fixed.
Yeah, there's been some missteps on this one, and hopefully we said before, hopefully they're doing it after action, and that we won't see this again on the next cycle. And this is the critical one, simply because it is the FM, and we are going to continue to see these targets. And it's not like where you have multiple choices. You can get you from Jack bases or you from Armadas. These are the FM targets, and we don't have a choice.
Okay, guys. Well, listen. I on that note, I need to end the show. I need to go and pick up the wonderful Lucy from work. Better say wonderful on air.
I just got one thing for George.
Uh-oh.
I just quickly matched your build on my flagship. It dies just as fast after the 80 coin to switch, add another M.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, guys. Well, we will see you on Tuesday's show. Hopefully, everyone has a great raid. Hopefully, it's not too painful for you, and we will catch you then. And as always, there'll be information on the TFC page throughout the raid. So, take care, everyone, and good night. And thanks everyone for coming out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.